Are you experiencing some really crazy challenges in your life right now? Are you feeling like it's just too much? Like first there was this thing and now there's also this other thing, right? And how are you going to be able to cope with it? If so, then this is for you. In this video, I will talk about how to deal with our challenges, what's special about the challenges that are happening to us right at this moment in time, because I feel like there's a special potency to them, and why, and how for you to start to work through them. So, hello, my name is Marie, and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you haven't been here before, if you're new, then I'm super excited to see you, and I hope that we can get to know each other and chat on the below here about different things in your life, because I'm really excited to have you in my life. So, challenges that are happening right now. I think let's start with why they're happening, which is something that becomes a little bit more deeper than the actual challenge itself. So I just had this sense, and I've been having it for quite some time, over, I would say, the past 6 months, maybe more, maybe 8 months, where the challenges that we are being presented with today in this moment in time are different from what we've experienced before in the past. They carry a different potency, they carry a different message, and they carry something that can potentially allow you to completely change your life. And when I say that, you're maybe cringing. You're thinking, oh my God, she can't seriously mean that, this awful thing that's happening to me is good for me. And actually, that's exactly what I mean. So I've had some pretty interesting things happening to me over the past 8 months, and some of them I've shared with you where, my Achilles tendon completely broke off. I've had other financial challenges and, just random things happen to me where I'm like, whoa, where did this come from? I've also realized and seen in my friends, in my family, in people that are further away from me in my business life, that things are happening that are pretty serious. Like, there are deaths happening, which also happened in my family, and it happened really quickly. Like within 2 weeks, boom, from doing pretty well to not being here anymore on this plane. And I've started to see, because I've started to look at from the ego's perspective of things and saying, wow, there's a pattern here. Just today, I listened to Pam Gregory, which is my favorite astrologer and favorite person, on YouTube. She's so amazing. And she was talking about why this is happening. And so to me, that clicked into place, and I was like, wow, okay, so this feeling that I've been sensing is not just something that, that I'm sensing. It's actually real in the astrology. So that's why I wanted to share this with you. So she was talking about the fact that right now, the way the planets are moving, and I will not do her justice trying to speak about it, but the way the planets are moving, the way they are interacting in our sky, actually allows us to have this little rehearsal window right at this moment in time. And the rehearsal window is what's for about to come in 2026. And so right now, we're allowed this moment where we can start to look at our challenges, start to have this ego's perspective, start to say, not just why is it happening to me, but what is it showing me? What potential does this have for me? Can I take a perspective of this is a spiritual lesson for me, and there's some deep wisdom in here for me to learn from? So she was saying that the planets are aligned so that we now have a few moments where we can start to do that. And she suggested that we step back and really start to look at it from the divine perspective. From the perspective of not like, woe is me, I'm a victim, why is this happening to me? Which sometimes we can take that point of view also, but then try to step back and say, why is it really happening to me? What is it trying to point to in my life? How can I become the mastery of the situation? And now I'm slowly moving into the second part that I wanted to talk to you about, which is how do you actually deal with these very difficult changes and difficult challenges in your life? And the suggestion is for you to try to step aside, to try to say, whoa, this crazy thing happened. I can't believe it happened. It hurt me the most, in my deepest part. Like maybe you're having difficulty with the relationships, it hurts you there, right? Or maybe you're having a financial difficulty, it hurts you there. or maybe a family member dies and it really starts to, work its way into your system and really starts to hurt you. And all those things are valid. Obviously, we're gonna feel hurt. But maybe a small part of us can start to step back, start to look from the ego's perspective down into our whole map of our life and say, wow, this happened for a reason. And I'll give you an example. My Achilles tendon, which is the closest one to me right now. Before that happened, I kept on going around saying, I really need a break. I really need to rest. I really need to, slow down, all this stuff. And I was verbally saying it, and I was actually also saying it to myself. My whole emotional system was saying it. Then that situation happened. And what happened? I had to sit down. I was walking around on crutches for 6 weeks. I couldn't do basic stuff, like just bring a glass of water with me from one place to another in the house, because jumping, the water splashes all over the place, right? And I was really sad in the beginning. I was like, wow, this is really, right? But then I started realizing, number one, I asked for it. And number two, I needed it. That break that it gave me allowed me to step into a completely new version of myself. The acceptance, the not just complaining about it, but actually saying it has a message for me. I need to learn how to walk again, which, we learn how to walk when we're infants. So what better way of teaching me to start anew in my life than having to force me to learn to do something so simple, to walk again. Learn how to train my body, heal my body, so that I can eventually walk again. Now, 6 months later, I'm walking again. It's still kind of difficult, but I'm moving through all the healing and doing all that. So I'm trying to tell you, with using that as an example, is when we feed acceptance and our own spiritual wisdom into any event in our life, we start to look at it completely differently. And I now look at it, and I kind of quickly went into that space where I started looking at it as a gift. It was a gift that the universe gave me to say, okay, you can take a break now. You can take this pause. You can integrate. You can be with you. Don't move around too much. Just be in your body, right? Allow your body to heal. Allow you to change. Because when we face something like that, like a physical injury or a big thing in our lives, it allows for us to make a change. It allows for us to press the pause button and say, you know what? All those things that I thought were so important are actually not that important. What's most important is my health, my life, my family, my love, whatever, right? You start to, as soon as something major happens in your life, you start to reevaluate everything in your life, if you do it the right way, right? So that's what I would suggest that these big challenges that you're experiencing are doing to you right now. They're asking you to reevaluate your life and to say, is there a tension in this area of my life? Is there something that I need to look at? Do I need to completely change the way I'm dealing with X, Y, and Z? And I would suggest that you take your time in doing that. You don't have to rush into it. And then the third part of this video is, how do you actually deal with it, right? So once you have that kind of ego's purge, once you start to get that wisdom into your system that says, there's a reason this happened and here's why. How do you actually start to make a change then? Well, what I would say is listen to your body, because the body is the most amazing thing that we have. Is this well-calibrated instrument that's always giving us signals and saying, this is what you need to look at, right? So start to listen to your body. And I will use an example. In my case, because it's easier for me to use my own examples, right? I started feeling into that I really, really needed to change a lot of things. I needed to change my diet, and I really needed to do a detox. My body was screaming and saying, you need to start to do a detox. Because once I got out of that, oh, woe is me and eating chips all day phase, my body was like, no, not so much, right? So I started quitting caffeine, which helped me tremendously because I then started getting less headaches. I started to do a huge detox program, and those of you who have followed me have seen my 28 days of detox to infinitum, which actually ended up lasting more like I think 58 days or 60 days or something like that, because my husband also joined on and we started doing it together. And I felt so amazing. And by the way, we're still kind of mostly doing that because now we notice as soon as we have something, you know, a hamburger at a, you know, fast food joint, our body's like, no, what are you doing to me? You know, and we pay the consequences. So we've now have this indicator where like we need to focus on our diet. We need to focus on the food that's being inserted into our body, the water that's coming in order to be the best version of ourselves, essentially, you know, because what we eat, that's what we become. Huh? Another thing that really changed me in that process is what you see here now. I actually started on YouTube in the middle of March, 3 months after this incident happened to me. And if you had asked me before if I was going to be on Instagram or YouTube or anything like that, I would have laughed my ass off because I didn't identify myself as a social media person. I was just like, no, that's not for me. That's not what I do. You know, this is for other people. I'm not, you know, it was just not something that I thought of myself doing. All of a sudden, everything shifted. And before I knew it, I was in this situation where I was like, yeah, this is what I'm doing now. And it was cringy in the beginning and I felt so awkward. I mean, I've done a lot of public speaking in my life. I've had taught classes and things like that, but it was different to be in front of the camera. It was different to be exposed to the entire world, to all of my friends, and saying the things that I'm saying, which half of them would be like, okay, she lost her mind. She's talking about spirituality. She's talking about all this stuff. She is really crazy, right? So that was a big change for me as well, to meet you here, to be able to actually, for the first time in my life, completely speak my truth in front of a camera and in front of people that I don't necessarily know, and people that I do know that are going to find me and say, well, I don't know about Marie, right? So, and other small things started happening in my life too that made it, so it was a big change for me. And what I'm saying is, for you, when you start to feel into your body, when you start to say, where is it that my body is telling me that I need to start? Where do I need to make the biggest change? And then you start doing that. Maybe you start buying back some of your own time. You know, a lot of times what we do is we start scrolling Netflix, or we start scrolling, you know, emails, or we send messages or some, you know, we spend a lot of time doing things that are, we know that they're not necessarily great for us, but we still do it because we're kind of trying to numb something within us. What I'm suggesting that you do is you listen to your body, and then you start to take some of that time back to you. You start to do something that's meaningful for you. Maybe it's taking up a new hobby. Maybe it's listening to a meditation before you go to bed. Maybe it's doing breath work. Maybe it's eating better. Maybe it's focusing, you know, on your relationships and raising the frequency of your relationship with yourself to begin with. And as you start to do that, slowly but surely, you start to make these steps where you're going to start to feel lighter. You're going to start to feel that this awful thing that happened to you actually starts to become the best thing that happened to you, because it forced you to change, if you allow it, right? It pushed you in a direction that said, you need to do this. You need to look at this, and you need to do this. And when you start to see that, you'll start to also look back into your previous life, and you'll say, wait a minute, when that awful thing happened, when I lost my job, it actually forced me into something that was a better situation. When I got that divorce, it pushed me into a situation that's now better, right? And you can start to look at your life from that ego's perspective again and realize that those things that felt so awful, you know, they are the best things. They are the things that carry this beautiful little gift. But you have to take the time to look for it. You have to take the time to feel the pain. You have to take the time to be with you. I know it's hard. Trust me. I think we're all battling our demons, and we all have these different fears. When other people look at us, it's obvious to them what our most difficult parts are. But for us, that's where we're sore. That's where our wound is. That's where we feel like we're the weakest. And that's when life hits us right there. And then you stand up, you brush yourself off, you shake off a little bit. You say, today is not going to be the day that I'm not focusing on me. Today's not going to be the day that the world is allowed to tell me who to be. I'm a sovereign being. I'm a divine creature. I'm here on earth for a very short period of time. The Dalai Lama said, we got 90 to 100 years, and we better do something good with that, because we're not here for that long. And so you're going to say to yourself, yes, this thing happened to me. I was able to use that event to start to look at my own divinity, to start to look at what my body needed, to start to look at what my emotional field needed. And I came out of that fire, forged into a stronger person, into a strong person of sovereignty, into a person that has a bigger purpose, that knows that it wants to give something back to the world, that knows that deep within you lies a fountain of energy. Deep within you, the universe is just supporting all of you at all times. And that's probably where I want to leave off, because as you tune into you, you might feel a lot of weakness. I know I certainly do. I feel like, I'm not good enough for this. I am not, beautiful enough for this. I'm not young enough, whatever it may be. But that's not true, because you got the whole universe backing you. If you feel into the back of your body, you can feel this rush of energy pushing you. Let it through. Let it through you. Let it express itself. You're not alone. You feel like you're separate and alone, but you're not. The universe always has your back. And that's why it's giving you these beautiful lessons, in order for you to realize who you are, in order for you to step into who you are. All these difficult things happen to you so that you can step into the full beauty of you, the light, the energy, the frequency of you. Lots of love. Thank you for being you, and I'll see you soon again. Leave a comment below if you had this crazy challenge happen to you that you just tear your hair out, because I certainly have, and we can chat. Namaste.